By the end of 1963, the Zanzibar Sultanate had managed to secure its independence and send the British away. But that freedom was only to be short-lived. This is the story of the revolution that overthrew a 33-day kingdom and the Ugandan man who claimed that God spoke to him in a dream, giving him the mission to free the people of Zanzibar from Arab oppression and rule. Hello and welcome to Bar Afrique, the podcast where we tell the unexplored stories surrounding African decolonization over a drink or three. My name is Line Talla and I am joined by my incredible co-host Sarah Masiyiwa, and today I will be telling the story of the 1964 Zanzibar Revolution and the man who led it, John Okello. Hi, Sarah.
Good afternoon.
Before we jump into this story, Sarah, I've got a little trivia question for you.
Hit me.
Can you name the top 3 East African countries with the largest Muslim populations? And I'll make it easy. You don't have to list them in order.
Oh, how easy. Okay, East African countries with the top 3 Muslim populations. Okay. I'm going to embarrass myself because I'm very embarrassed about, it's not that I think I'm going to get it wrong. Okay. I'm worried I'll name a country that's not in East Africa. And then people will be like, why does she host this podcast?
I just want the people to know we're working on our geography.
East African countries with big Muslim populations. I'm going to say, so we're talking about the region. We're talking about Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda.
In that area.
Okay. I've been to a couple of them. I've been to Rwanda.
Okay.
Didn't have a big Muslim population.
Okay.
I feel like Kenya. Oh, well, okay, no. I'm overthinking this. This. Ethiopia.
Okay.
Yeah, am I right?
Yes.
That's one.
Yeah,
okay, I was overthinking. I was like, let's go niche.
For sure.
No, Ethiopia, and then I'm gonna say Eritrea.
Okay.
Am I right or wrong?
I said top 3.
Yeah, but just give me those. Am I going in the right direction?
Okay.
Was that wrong?
It's not in the top 3.
It's not. Are we talking about by volume or by proportion?
Muslim population, just the population of Muslims.
So because I feel like proportionally Eritrea has a large proportion, but probably just has a small population.
Yes.
Okay. But Ethiopia was right.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna guess one more.
Okay.
I am gonna go with. Is it easy? Will I get it?
Go ahead. Tell me what you think.
No, but will I get it? Or is it going to be surprising?
I have confidence in you.
Okay. So that means it's more obvious.
Yeah, I have confidence in you.
Oof. I don't know. I'm going to go with Burundi?
No.
Oh.
You want me to give them to you?
Give me one.
Somalia.
Oh, of course.
Let me give you...
Okay, no. I think I can get the last one. I think I can get the last one.
All right.
Is it Sudan or South Sudan?
No.
Oh. I would think. No? But maybe, are they for 4 or 5? Do we get
top 10
honorary points? Okay, I'll take one more guess and then we move on. Okay, tell me. Just tell me.
Tell you Tanzania.
I was literally just about to say that.
I was about to give you the hint. Think of near the water.
I was just about to say it.
Water.
Okay, that aligns.
So here are the top 3 in order of largest Muslim populations. Mm-hmm. Ethiopia has 35 to 40 million Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
Tanzania is number 2
Mm-hmm.
with 19 to 20 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then Somalia is number 3 with 10 to 11 million.
Okay. I got one.
You got one.
1 out of 3.
And you got the first, you got number 1 with the most Muslim population. So
So
I'ma give it to
basically,
you.
I won the quiz.
You won the quiz. Okay, so let's get into this story.
Mhm.
And we are going to start by talking about, because we are going to be talking about Zanzibar today.
Mm-hmm.
And so Zanzibar sort of belongs to 2 different worlds, right? It's
The
part
world of beaches.
And it's got really beautiful beaches. Like,
It
let's
does,
not
but I
lie.
think that's the thing. I'm excited to talk about Zanzibar because I feel like most people are like Zanzibar beaches, and now
We get to hear about the history of it, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, it's part of 2 different worlds. It's part of the African continent, but it's also for many, many, many years, it's been part of the Arab Muslim world of the Western Indian Ocean, right? So, Sultan Said of Oman ended up taking residence in Zanzibar city, in the island of Ungoja. Just like a little context, Zanzibar is a cluster of islands, and it's got 2 main islands, Ungoja and Pemba. And Ungoja is the largest of the 2. And so informally, when someone tells you that they're going to Zanzibar, they're actually going to the island of Ungoja because it's the biggest of the 2. And that's where Zanzibar city sits, right?
Okay.
And that's where sort of this sultan took residence. And with him, he brought an entire population of Arabs and slave traders.
Oh no.
Yeah.
When was this?
This was 1840.
Okay.
And most of the land in Ngoja in Zanzibar was taken from the indigenous population through physical occupation, intimidation, forced sales, and on occasion, outright violence.
Okay.
Yeah,
So he colonizes.
they were colonizers.
Okay.
That's basically what they were. And by the mid 1890s, right? So like not even like 60 years by the time the Arabs first made contact, the total number of slaves in Zanzibar was about 40,000. Compare that to a population of 300,000.
Okay. So rough math.
Rough math.
300 divided by 3. 40 divided by 3. What's 40 divided by 3? 40 divided by 3. 4
Carry the
divided
one.
by 3 is 1. 1%. No. 4 divided by 3. I'm going to say roughly 11%.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a big number.
It is. It
That's a
is.
lot of people
Yeah.
in their own home. Imagine.
Okay, so they come in and they enslave people
Yes.
to work in Zanzibar.
In
So this is
Zanzibar.
not like a slave trade where enslaved people are being exported. Okay.
They're being
Okay.
slaves in their own land because the Arabs are coming in with money.
Yeah.
These people
And
with
also
money.
this is late.
Yes.
Like this is like after abolition of slavery. This is late.
And we'll even talk about that when the British actually come in.
Okay.
And exactly when the British arrive in Zanzibar in 1890, one of the first things that they do is that they want to abolish slavery.
Yes.
Right? So
yeah.
they end up doing that. But what they also ended up doing is they didn't want to rule Zanzibar directly. So what they did is they relied on Arab sub-imperialism, basically using them as proxy to sort of govern over the indigenous people. And I want to know from you, what do you think of the British people's decision to do that instead of
I've never heard of sub-imperialism.
yeah? I've never heard of that either.
It's like okay, so they decided that imperialism was too much work and they delegated it.
They basically
Love
delegated it.
the efficiency. Have never heard of it.
So basically what it was is that Zanzibar became a British protectorate. So they used the Arabs as the local rulers of the indigenous Zanzibaris, but they just had control in the background. They were behind the scenes telling the Sultan what to do.
So did they successfully abolish slavery if
They did.
weren't? Okay.
Because they were in the background.
Okay.
So they were able to successfully do that, right?
Okay.
So when the British decided to abolish slavery,
Yeah.
the Arabs decided, okay, but we need people to work for us. So they found a way to bring in Africans from the mainland to come and work on their plantations,
Okay.
right? Like if we just take a look at the numbers, in like early 1960s, there were roughly 20,000 Asians who were mostly there for trade and business. There were 50,000 Arabs, and there were 230,000 mainland Africans combined with indigenous Zanzibaris.
Okay. So it's like the minority oppressing the majority.
Exactly. So
Okay.
the imbalance of power was real.
Yeah.
And you could feel that. And people
Yeah.
could feel that and they could see that, right? And like the race class division between the indigenous Zanzibaris and the Arab community became a major political issue. But there's one thing that I want to emphasize. It's that religion was never an issue here. It was never part of the equation. And that's because 95% of the population of Zanzibar was Muslim.
Okay.
And Islam actually came to Zanzibar in the early 8th century by early Arab traders, right? So that was already set in stone. They were all of the same religion. The problem was race and class. Like that was really the central problem that was sort of happening between the indigenous Zanzibaris, the mainland Africans, and the Arabs. And by December 1963, the Zanzibar Sultanate was able to gain independence. When the British were quote unquote in power, they were telling the Arabs what to do. So they were practicing this thing of sub-imperialism, but in the background,
And then
they were actually
okay.
telling people what to do.
So then the Sultanate was like, we don't want to be told what to do,
do.
and we're going to make the shots ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay, got
We
it,
want
got
to
it.
make the shots ourselves. And so the British were like, okay, let's have some elections in July 1963. And so they ended up having those elections, and the Arab dominated coalition of parties ended up getting most of the seats. But there was another party, which was African dominated, called the Afro-Shirazi Party. They also, they wanted to have more say in government, but they weren't able to win as many seats as the Arab dominated coalition of parties.
Okay.
So in December 1963, the Zanzibar Sultanate, which was a new member of the British Commonwealth, we know so much about the British Commonwealth, and was also a new member of the United Nations, was now an independent constitutional monarchy led by Sultan Jamshid bin Abdullah. But for the Africans of Zanzibar, the election results didn't really mean anything for them, right? Because, it didn't do anything to sort of address the political and economic imbalances in society, and it also did not align with the Pan-African movements that were happening on the mainland, particularly in East Africa, where they had a lot of economic and social ties, right? And so the Arabs at the time on the island, they were still majority landowners, and on average, they were wealthier than the Africans on the island. Again, let's remember that they were only about 50,000 compared to a 300,000 population of Africans and indigenous Zanzibaris. The Arabs also had access to higher quality social services than almost all Africans at the time. And despite slavery having been abolished, much of the Arab elite, they didn't really do anything in their politics to sort of hide their racism towards the Africans. I mean, for a really long time since they arrived in like 1840, they came with the money, right? They came with the power. They were able to overpower the indigenous Zanzibaris and sort of make the land their own, even if they were in small numbers. So all of that did not change just because they'd gotten independence from Britain. And to make things even worse, when the Zanzibar Sultanate gained independence, it replaced the existing members of the police and the government with personnel who were known to be supportive of the Arab-dominated government.
Mm-hmm.
This meant that African police officers who came to the mainland to be police officers were dismissed, which was a very dangerous action because it left an entire population of African men who had paramilitary training, an intimate knowledge of police procedures, and had insane grievances against the government. Right?
Okay.
So this became really dangerous, but I don't think the Arab government really saw them as dangerous at the time.
Okay, so they basically fire all the African soldiers.
They fire
not
all
soldiers,
the
but
Africans, police officers.
And so you have this population
You've
of police
got
officers who are really mad.
You've got this entire group of people who are just really mad at the Arab government right now, right?
Yeah.
And this is where we meet our main character, John Okello. There's something about the Arab relationship with Africa that isn't really spoken about.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of, it's a little nuanced. It's a little complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a bit nervous.
Why?
I was a bit nervous that I was like, I hope I don't get it wrong.
So what gives you anxiety about talking about it?
that I hope I'm telling the complete story.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that there is an Arab side and there is a side for the Africans, if that makes sense. Like, I just don't want it to seem like I am siding with one side, because it's very complex and it's very nuanced in the sense that, like, if we're being objective, it was Arab colonization. Like, that's what it was. And I said it and I mentioned it. But there is, it's
Do you
very
have
nuanced.
hesitancy calling it Arab colonization?
Yes, but I did it
Why?
and I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Because that's what it was. And I think I'm confident in the fact that I read enough about it to call it that.
So why do you think then, because we hear so much about like French colonization, British colonization, German colonization, why do you think we don't hear as much about Arab colonization?
Because it's not written about. Because can I be honest? It didn't really sink into me that there was Arab colonization in Africa, particularly in East Africa, until I actually traveled to Tanzania. And I was on a tour of the coast of Dar es Salaam, and they told us that. I was like, oh, I didn't know this.
You went to Tanzania.
I went to Tanzania.
Okay, when did you go?
This was 2019.
Okay, so you get to Tanzania. You thought Tanzania had been colonized by who?
I thought that Tanzania
you
was.
hadn't thought about it.
I hadn't thought about it.
And then you get there, and
Because
then
in my mind I'm like, oh, maybe the British, maybe the French, maybe the British, maybe the Germans, because the Germans, where they were everywhere a little bit before in World War II.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking very hard about who was Tanzania actually colonized by, or who were the first people to make contact in Tanzania.
Yeah. And then you take a tour.
I take a tour of
and
the
they
coast
tell
of Dar es
you-
Salaam.
Yeah.
And they tell us about the slave trade. And they say it's the Arabs. And I was like, wait a second.
And that made you uncomfortable?
Not that it made me uncomfortable. It just like opened like another layer in my brain about what colonization was like in Africa.
Yeah.
That it was more complicated than we actually think. Or that is actually talked about in like mainstream education, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, I think, having not done any research on this topic, love that for me. I think personally that we tend to, as Africans and as Africans in the diaspora, really gravitate towards stories where there's that feel almost like fairy tales.
Yes.
Where there's a very clean villain and there's a very clean hero. And I think we're so used to then the French came and then they did all of this to us.
Exactly.
And so sometimes we have a hard time talking about narratives and stories that don't cleanly fit into that, right? And it sounds like in this story, you have the British, but then beneath the British, you have a much more brutal colonizer. And it's so easy to talk about British colonization because it's so
easy because it's accessible.
It's a very, I hope I don't sound like a bit like dismissive, but like Britain is like a very easy villain. Do you know what I'm saying?
Britain and France are easy villains.
Yes. And
because
I think sometimes
because the villainous ways are so public.
yes. And I think race comes into it as well.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's much harder to talk about people of color
Absolutely.
oppressing another people of color.
Absolutely. It's hard, and also it's like it's easier to just blame white people. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just
Yes.
easier to just blame
Yes.
white people. But when the
Yes.
people that actually also did not good things are not white,
Yeah.
it's a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you know that the white people were also bad to those people.
Yeah. Or there's even, like, I'll go as far to even say that, like, there are moments where, like, I have come across where, like, Europeans actually become sort of heroic in the story.
And you're like, you don't want to admit
want to hear about them.
Don't
We're
wanna
like,
hear about it.
I don't, you read, you're like, there's like a like horrible autocrat. And then
Yes.
like France comes in and they're like, okay, we're going to help you remove it. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but I love a messy narrative, and I think that's what we're getting into.
I also love a messy narrative because I also think history is messy.
Yeah,
And it's nuanced and it's complicated.
yeah,
And I think in order to really get to the root of what the problem was, you have to accept that messiness
Mhm.
and accept that complexity. Because a lot of the time we want things to be black and white so we can find an easy answer. But the answers are not actually that easy
Yeah.
when you look at it.
yeah. Okay, so I want to hear about God, because I
Let's
think
get into this.
yeah, I'm
Let's
ready to
get
settle
into
in
this.
because I heard I was promised someone hearing from God.
Yes. So what I just mentioned is that the Zanzibar Sultanate gets its independence from Britain, but they're still quite racist to the indigenous Zanzibaris and the mainland Africans who live there.
Mhm.
And we've got our main character who sort of comes into this story, John Okello.
Mhm.
Right.
So is
it's-
he Pastor John?
He's not Pastor John,
Okay,
unfortunately.
sorry. Okay, keep
But it's 1959, and it's just a few years before independence. And we've got this Ugandan man named John Okello who joins the mainlander laborer community of the island of Pemba. Like I said, there were two islands of Zanzibar, Pemba and Goja. He arrives in Pemba where he works on an Arab plantation. He previously lived in Kenya, where he arrived in like 1954, where he is said to have sort of witnessed the Mau Mau uprising, right? And it's very formative for him because that's where he sort of like gains his like political education and his revolutionary thoughts.
Okay, so for someone who doesn't know what the Mau Mau uprising is, what is
Yes,
that?
Sarah, tell us what the Mau Mau uprising is.
Okay, if you haven't listened to our episode on Kenya,
We've got an episode on Kenya, yes.
finish this first and then go back. But
Yeah.
the Mau Mau uprising is an uprising that happened in Kenya when the Kenyan people were super over the fact that Britain was doing some stuff to them.
To say the least.
To say the least, kept taking their land. And then they did an uprising and they were very brutally, violently, and viciously defeated.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Exactly. So he witnessed like the height of the Mau Mau uprising, and it was very, very formative in his thinking. And in the course of his various occupations, like before he actually arrived in Zanzibar, Okello claimed to have persistently led protests and demands for like improved wages and conditions of employment, right? Because he was like a migrant laborer.
He's a well-traveled man.
He's a well-traveled man.
He goes from Uganda.
Yes, he went to Kenya.
Love that. Now
At
he's
some
in
point,
Zanzibar.
he was in Zaire. Yeah, so
Okay.
he was like what you would call today like a migrant laborer. That's sort of what he was. And he disliked colonial rule and had a hatred for what he called aliens, particularly Asians and Arabs.
Was he Islamophobic? No, like when you say he had a hatred towards
Asians
and Arabs,
here is what I say. And I will get into this because it's my personal like thought process.
Okay, but tell me, what's your personal thought
My
process?
personal thought process is that he was Islamophobic.
Okay.
No, I do.
No, I mean,
And
I it sounds like
That's
he
what
was.
he's-
If he
right.
has a hatred of Asian people and Arabs.
yes.
Yes.
And in his autobiography that he sort of published like in the mid 1960s, so years later, he writes that he always had this feeling that he was going to be abandoned by the people that he tried to help. And I want you to remember that, Sarah. And friends, I also want you to remember that.
It's locked
because this idea sort of foreshadows what happens a few years later. So
and who is he? Who are the people he's helping?
the Zanzibaris?
The Zanzibari Muslims?
Again,
Because
Zanzibar
it's
is
mostly
95% Muslim.
Okay.
Right?
So, but he is helping
In his
that
mind, he's
population.
helping this population.
Okay. Okay.
But also
So was
another
he Islamophobic?
let's get to that. Because one really important thing to remember about Okello is that he was incredibly religious and he was incredibly Christian.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
When he was in school, his best subject was religion, and he increasingly saw himself as appointed by God. But this is a God of Old Testament Christianity, right? And also of God of Africans who had
shall be mine.
Exactly.
Yes.
And he saw himself like appointed by God, this God of Old Testament Christianity, but also a God of Africans who had nothing to do with Islam.
Yeah, so Christian God.
Yes.
Okay.
In his mind, he was appointed by a Christian God and that it was his duty to lead a revolution purely of African liberation.
So wait, so where did you go to school like your early years?
Oh, girl.
No, like your primary school. Where'd you go to primary school?
I was in Italy.
Did you learn religion as a subject?
No.
I did. Like I went to school, like primary school in South Africa. And we had you could either take, so you had two options.
Yeah.
You could either take Bible class, which is what like all the Christians took.
Yeah.
And then or morals, which is all like what the non-Christians took.
You know, the first time I had religion class was when I was in high school in Rome. But I was also at a Catholic international school.
Well, Lynn, okay, so for those who don't know, this is like deep lore, right? Let me explain this, right? I'm going to explain this. Lynn and I met when we were at NYU.
Yes. 2016.
Right, 2016. We then discovered that I went to a tiny Catholic school outside of like London. Wimbledon, called Marymount. Shout out to Marymount. For like my last 2 years of high school.
Yeah.
Our sister school was in Italy.
Marymount. I went to Marymount for the first 2 years of high school in Rome, Italy.
Isn't that crazy that there's like an alternate universe where we could have met?
We could have met. We were always destined to meet, Sarah.
But that's like kind of insane.
It's insane.
So when you were at Marymount,
yeah,
how hardcore was it?
It wasn't hardcore. Like I remember being in that religion class, and we would just talk about God. And we had like random assignments, but it wasn't like, to be honest, it wasn't a class that people took very seriously.
Really?
No.
Even in Italy, I feel like
it wasn't a class that people took seriously.
Okay.
It was, Marymount was a Catholic international school.
Yeah.
You saw the nuns walking around.
Yeah.
We had like church services very regularly.
Yeah.
But when we had religion class, it didn't feel like it was something that was like super strict.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
And that was the first time I had that religion class. What about you?
It was kind of similar for us. We like didn't have a lot of Catholic kids at the Catholic school.
Okay.
We had like a lot of kids who were like conservative. So like my family was like super conservative.
Yeah.
But Christian, not Catholic.
Right.
And like my like best friend was conservative Muslim. So he had a lot of like very conservative people who were kind of just coming to the school for like basically for us to like be somewhere where we like weren't gonna like be going out and we weren't gonna be like out on the streets.
That makes
you know what I'm
sense.
saying?
Yeah.
It was kind of like socially, where can you put your female children
Yes.
where they will get into like as little trouble as possible.
Yeah, there were less
Yeah.
like less temptations, basically.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so John Okello, he loves
God. He loves God. He's
But,
very
like,
Christian.
yeah, but it sounds like his version of Christianity is quite old school.
Yes.
Okay.
It's incredibly conservative, incredibly old school.
Okay.
And he claimed that God spoke to him in prophetic dreams.
Okay, but don't say it like that.
No. Like he like I'm not saying it in any judgy way. I'm just saying that God spoke to him
Mm-hmm.
in his dreams
Mm-hmm.
and told him that God was giving him the power
Mhm.
to redeem prisoners and slaves.
Mhm.
I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Has God ever spoken to you in your
Oh my
dreams?
God, I had a feeling you were gonna ask me this question. I actually do. I had a feeling you were gonna ask me. Has God ever spoken to me in
In a dream.
In a dream. Oh my gosh. I don't think in a dream.
Okay.
No, I do not believe God has ever spoken to me in a dream. I think he's spoken to me in other ways that aren't dreams.
Good.
But also,
Mhm.
I had this. This is going to get like real deep and real dark.
Tell our friends.
I had this nightmare one time.
Oh.
Like, when I was in New York, I had a nightmare. I don't think it was God speaking to me.
Oh.
I think it was the other guy.
The guy down there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the scariest nightmare I've ever had in my life. And I do think, like, it scared me straight. Like, have you ever had a dream that, like...
Where you're like, okay, I have to change my ways.
Yes!
Yes, I have.
Right?
Oh, I've got to straighten up.
Okay, right?
Yes.
What's yours?
It was a long time ago. I don't even think I remember it.
But you must remember, I'm traumatized.
You're
this is
traumatized?
okay, this is like really dark.
Okay.
I dreamt I was being taken to the bad place.
Oh, God.
I did. I dreamt I was being taken to the bad place. And to this day, I still remember that feeling. I still remember it. And I don't know. I'm a person who's quite I'm Christian, right?
Yeah.
But I think I'm quite I'm not the type of Christian who needs to like have everything figured out.
Yeah.
I'm quite comfortable with I don't need the answers of things.
Same.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I don't need to interrogate things too deeply. I'm happy to just
Have faith.
yeah. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. If I'm right, then I'm right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
No,
I don't interrogate it too deeply.
You sort of relinquish control in certain parts of your life.
Yeah, I feel like there's some people who are oh, I need to understand how the Big Bang is interpreted in the Bible.
Yeah.
I don't need to understand that.
Yeah.
It doesn't occupy any space in my mind.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Right. Where's this going? And this is so this is all to say that I don't know if I have ever deeply interrogated if you have a dream that scares you, where it's coming from. All I know is that I had a nightmare and I was being taken to somewhere that I didn't want to go. And I remember waking up and crying and calling my mom.
Wow, Sarah.
Yeah, I called my mom and she was like, what's wrong? I was like, I had a nightmare. And she was like, what happened? I was like, it's so bad. I don't even want to say, because I didn't want to tell my mom.
Right.
Because then she'd think I was going to hell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she'd worry.
Yeah. And so I just said, I was like, I don't even want to talk about it. And then she was really lovely. She just
That's good.
prayed with me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And then she basically, my mom's the best. She has a prayer group that meets online. And then she was like, why don't you just log on and just listen to people praying?
Yeah.
And that helped. But I still remember that feeling. And so I don't know. So to your question, has God ever spoken to me in a dream? I don't think that was God. Because if that was God, I don't think that God speaking to you would feel that way.
Well, I don't think it would feel that way either.
Because that I don't believe in Old Testament vengeance God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But John Okello.
Yeah, but it sounds like his version of God is
his version of God was God telling him, oh, you need to go and free these people right now.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be under this. This was the prophecy this was his prophecy.
Yeah.
That he thought this was his prophecy that God gave him, right?
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, he heard a voice telling him that God has given you the power to redeem prisoners and slaves in Zanzibar.
Okay.
And he really saw himself as a chosen figure ordained to smite and strike down his godless opponents. And when I say this, I just want us to remember that 95% of the population of Zanzibar was Muslim.
So
it's not godless. He was just in his mind, these people are godless.
So he was fighting for the 5%.
Exactly.
Okay.
Which is a bit crazy to me, given these people do have a religion, but you are seeing them as godless. They've got their own God, but okay. I'm like, okay, Okello. Okay, whatever you say, Okello. He ended up joining the Afro-Shirazi party, right?
This is the opposition party.
Yes, the opposition party to the Arab-dominated coalition party. And he became the secretary of the party's youth wing for the island. And he made friends with the Africans in the local police who had been dismissed. And in 1963, prior to the Zanzibar Sultanate getting independence, he had moved to the largest island, Ungoja, to sort of see what was going on around there. Because he believed that if there was going to be a revolution of indigenous Zanzibaris and Africans, it couldn't happen without the largest island of Ungoja. And he saw this as his God-appointed mission. He was really into this. And so when independence finally rolled around in December 1963, Okello is said to have renounced all personal pleasures and enjoyment and dedicate himself to the mission of revolution. Anything
so what does it mean to relinquish all, what did you say? All personal
pleasures and enjoyment.
Personal pleasures. What does that mean?
I'm thinking it's no drinking.
Okay.
No women.
Okay.
Nothing that would sort of impede his focus
on
liberating the people of Zanzibar.
Okay.
And his biggest supporters, like I said, were the group of Africans who were dismissed from the police force by the Arab-dominated government. Like I said before, would have become very dangerous for this government because they've got this entire group of people who are already really angry with them. So they easily joined in to Okello's mission to sort of have this revolution in Zanzibar, right? Because the government didn't even pay for these people's way home. And a lot of the police officers were from the mainland. So not only are they not collecting a check, the government is just leaving them in Zanzibar with nowhere to go and no money to go home, right? And it's said that Okello had about 42 ex-policemen join him at that time. So from mid-December 1963, after independence, to sort of early January the following year, there have been rumors going around that the government had secretly been giving weapons to another group of Arabs called the Manga in order to have a force that would sort of be there for them if any violence were to erupt in Zanzibar city. And they,
How is this force different to? So, like, who are the manga?
yes, they're just a different ethnic, like they're a different Arab group.
Okay.
Not particularly joined in with the government. They're
Okay.
just separated, but the government decided to use them as like, okay, we should keep in close contact with them.
Okay, just in case.
Just in case.
Okay.
So they armed them with weapons.
Okay.
They were like, we are going to use these people as sort of like our police or military
Mhm.
in case there's some sort of violence that were to erupt, and using them to sort of suppress the Afro-Shirazi party,
Mhm.
right? But those rumors ended up not being true.
The rumors
That the government was arming this particular
So the government never armed.
They
the
never
manga,
armed them.
But John Okello and his 42
They believed
ex-servicemen
that.
believed that
They
the government
believed
was
that.
arming.
And
Okay,
at the
okay.
same time, John Okello is going around saying that the government had a plan for the mass repatriation of mainlanders, that they were going to return to slavery, and that they were going to encourage the immigration of Arab people from Oman to Zanzibar.
Okay. But this wasn't true.
This wasn't true.
So John Okello is spreading fake news.
Yes.
Okay.
He's spreading fake news, but it doesn't matter because the indigenous people of Zanzibar are already angry with the Arab government given the social and economic and political imbalances that are happening. So it's sort of easy to sort of
rile
lean into
people
those
up.
rumors.
Yeah,
It's
when
easy,
people are angry,
exactly,
you
it's
just need
easy to
give
make
them a
them
reason.
angrier,
Yeah.
right? So the tension in the air is already incredibly thick,
Mhm.
right? And on the night of January 11th, 1964, Okello makes his way into Zanzibar city.
And this is in the main island.
This is the main island of
Okay.
Ungoja.
Okay.
At 3 a.m. the next day, so January 12th, right? Okello and 40 of his followers launch an attack on the principal police arsenal at a place called Zawani, just outside of Zanzibar city. Despite the fact that they're only armed with spears, knives, machetes, and tire irons, they have advantage because they have more numbers and they have the advantage of surprise.
They have a numbers advantage with only 40 of them?
Yeah.
How few?
There were nobody there. There was nobody at these police barracks.
I
It's the middle of the night.
I know, but I just have a feeling like when we tell these stories, the numbers are always really low.
Really low.
Like really low.
I think people become delusional and think, oh, no one's going to do anything.
Yeah, but like the fact that you can get 40 people together and like really cause some
Really
damage.
do some
you know what I'm
damage,
saying?
yeah.
Because if you think of like, the United States. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like 40 people is like barely a protest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's also 3 a.m. So the government is not expecting anything to sort of happen.
Yeah, but like it's still
It's a low number. I agree
it's
with
a low
you.
number.
It's a completely low number.
I know 40 people.
Yeah, can you imagine 40 people of the people you know? Go ahead.
I will be honest, we have more than 40 listeners.
Yeah.
And I feel I'm not
still too
saying
low
that
a
we're
number.
going to start a revolution. I'm just saying that we do have the numbers too if we want.
I agree with you. But yeah, he went in with 40 people and they were able to basically attack these police barracks on the outside of the town. And then at 7 a.m., so just a few hours later, Okello gets on the radio and he calls upon the Africans in Zanzibar to rise up and overthrow the imperialists. He's calling the Arabs the imperialists.
Okay.
And as he's doing this,
But they were the sub-imperialists.
they were the sub-imperialists, right?
Yes.
But then they sort of become the imperialists when they
Yes.
gain independence.
Potato.
You know, exactly. And so then a group of around 800 rebels attacked and seized the police stations and armories on the island of Ungoja. So they
So
all
his
attacked.
40 people rallied 800 people.
It rallied
Okay.
800 people. So he was really planning this stuff, right? And before advancing into Stone Town, which is in Ungoja, and it's where the Sultan had his residence, right? And once they start storming these government buildings and the Sultan's home, the Sultan, his family, and senior government officials, they flee the scene and escape in the Sultan's yacht called the Said Khalifa. They get on the yacht and they say, "We're gone." And they were never to return.
They're still on the yacht. They're still sailing.
They're sailing away. To where? I don't know. But this literally, once they got on the yacht, that was the end of the Zanzibar Sultanate.
I don't think I've ever heard of someone absconding in a yacht.
Yeah. He said, "You know what? I'm not even going to fight this. He's like, I'm going to get on my yacht, bring some people with me, and we're going to go."
It's giving, I don't really need to be here.
That's literally what he said.
He saw 800
They just left.
people with spears coming at him. He said,
I don't need to be here at all.
And that's fair.
That's fair. And the interesting thing about this revolution, like at the beginning, is that there was another political party called the Umma Party. And so what they ended up doing is like sort of taking a bit of credit at the beginning. They sort of became like the forefront of this revolution. And even though they didn't really start this uprising, that's credit to John Okello because he started this uprising. They turned this into a revolutionary insurrection where they took over state power, becoming the first time in modern Africa that a neo-colonial administration had been directly overthrown in a few hours.
Wait, who's the neo-colonial administration? The Arabs. Okay.
They're calling the Arabs the neo-colonial administration.
Are they a neo-colonial administration? Aren't they just a colonial administration?
That is another question. I think because they saw the British as the colonial administration and because the Arabs were being used as...
But did the British not come after the Arabs?
Exactly. So the Arabs were really the first colonizers of the island of Zanzibar. But...
And the Umma Party...
Yes, it's a very left-wing party in Zanzibar. They were already banned.
And left-wing party of... of what? Of like
so
African
let's say
mainlanders.
There's the Umma Party that is incredibly left-wing.
Yeah.
There's the Afro-Shirazi Party that you could say is a bit center-left.
Yeah.
And then there's the Arab government.
Okay, got it.
Right?
Okay.
So it's like this sort of spectrum.
Okay.
But what followed after the beginning of John Okello's revolution only deepened the ethnic divisions within Zanzibar. And we're going to get into that in part 3.
Okay. This week, we're drinking Vusa vodka. While most vodkas are made with wheat, potatoes, or corn, Vusa vodka is made with sugarcane in the heart of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. It's triple distilled and only filtered once, then blended using the purest water of the Lions River, giving you a smooth and subtly sweet drinking experience.
All right, so we're back. And I just ended with saying that, Okello starts this revolution and it sort of makes the ethnic divisions in Zanzibar even worse. Because if we think about it, Okello's revolution sort of falls into 2 stages, right? The first stage is like the seizure of power on January 11th. And then the second stage is one of terror and a lot of violence. And this second stage, to be honest, was completely brutal, right? As the revolution is unfolding, Okello, he feared that there was going to be some retaliation from the Arabs. So his solution was to basically have organized violence throughout the island of Ungoja. And there aren't any official numbers, but it's been said that roughly 20,000 Arabs and Asians were killed or imprisoned over the week that followed the revolution that began on January 11th, 1964. Arab and Asian properties were attacked. Arab and Asian women were sexually assaulted. And on the explicit instruction of Okello, Europeans were not attacked. What do you think of that?
What do I think about John Okello not attacking
Yeah.
Europeans?
Which I thought was really, I was like, oh.
I mean, I would argue that, like, we should take Europe out of the story completely.
Yeah.
Because, like, I actually don't think, I think it muddies the waters unnecessarily in this conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Because it actually doesn't matter what he wasn't doing to Europeans.
What matters is what he was doing to the Arabs.
Exactly. And this idea that, like, you are on what is like a God ordained mission.
Yeah.
I think that leaves me
I agree.
with lots of
Questions
about, like, not questions,
Yeah.
but, like, I don't know, but, like, God doesn't speak to me in that way. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's a bit of an uncomfortable feeling.
I'm not uncomfortable. I think I don't believe that, like, God can tell you to go sexually assault people.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think religion in this case is being used to justify
Violence and terror.
violence. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And thousands of Arabs and Asians were also moved into camps and later forcibly deported. To where? I don't know. I don't know where they were deported. But many Arabs ended up fleeing to safety to Oman and the UK. Historian Jonathan Glassman did estimate that Zanzibar had lost around a quarter of its Arab population by the end of 1964. Remember what I'd said? That
Lost by killing?
Yeah.
They killed a quarter of the Arab population.
Either by killing them or that they fled. Remember, by 1963, I had said that the population of Arabs by that time was 50,000.
And then math.
By the end of 1964,
Math.
a quarter of them
Quarter of
were either
50,000.
dead or
50,000.
I just want to say to our listeners, I'm not good at math, so whatever math Sarah is doing, don't
Okay.
ask me to
So
verify.
you take the 50 and you multiply it by 0.75.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever numbers on your calculator, that's
the answer. But yeah, like, just thinking about that, this is where the US and the UK come in. When the revolution happened, the US and the UK had kept a close eye on Zanzibar because they were hoping that it wasn't going to turn communist or too socialist. When this revolution happened, the leader of the Afro-Shirazi party, whose name was Abid Amani Karume. So when Karume came in as the leader of the Revolutionary Council, they were like, okay, this is a guy we can work with. Because Karume was very different from Okello. Okello was very left, very radical, a bit more violent than Karume. Because Karume, let's say, he was more central in that way. And so Tanzania became a country in April 1964 when the nations of Tanganyika and Zanzibar decided that they were going to combine into one. And this union between Tanganyika and Zanzibar was sort of a way to prevent communist influence in Zanzibar. As this union of Tanganyika and Zanzibar is happening and it's turning into the Republic of Zanzibar, Okello is sort of in the outskirts of all of this, right? But in his mind, that's okay because he didn't want to be at the forefront of leading Zanzibar. But what he didn't anticipate is that he was going to be alienated or ostracized as much as he ended up being, right? And Okello's rhetoric and violence, you know, his ideas about sort of getting rid of that was not sitting right with a lot of people within the Afro-Shirazi party that Karume was leading. And so there was one time when Okello had decided to travel out of Zanzibar in March 1964. And what happened is that when he tried to come back to Zanzibar, the forces that were loyal to Karume met him at the airport, and they ended up deporting Okello to Tanganyika. Tanganyika didn't want anything to do with Okello because at the time they were getting ready to be in close ties with Zanzibar. They didn't want that messiness. And so they ended up deporting him to Kenya. But at that time, there was so much alienation that was happening about Okello in Zanzibar, in Tanganyika, that spread to Kenya, where Kenya also decided that they were going to deport him back to Uganda. Like, Okello's name had been tarnished so much, despite the fact that it was basically because of him that Zanzibar sort of got rid of the Arab government, right? But they didn't care about that because there was still this idea that he was super Christian, he was a Ugandan, so he really wasn't like part of this Zanzibari community, right? So they did everything that they could to sort of ostracize him and alienate him, and all that he could do was end up going back to Uganda. And to this day, official Zanzibari records and other historical narratives imposed by the revolutionary government of Zanzibar basically erased John Okello from the history of the revolution in Zanzibar in 1964. So if you're actually like looking for a basic history of the 1964 revolution in Zanzibar, Okello's not mentioned at all.
That's crazy. Wiped from history.
They wiped that man completely from history.
Yeah.
Because they ended up seeing him as a foreigner.
Yeah. That's sad.
That's so sad. Like,
I mean, it's sad, but also he like got rid of a quarter of their population. So I can't imagine they'd want to support him.
They like literally erased him.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that religion played a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because the population was 95% Muslim. If you're going around saying that this was your God-appointed mission,
Yeah.
from a Christian God, I don't think that's gonna sit well with a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
no,
again, it's like
yeah.
also thanks to him, Zanzibar ended up being united with Tanganyika and becoming Tanzania.
Yeah.
The Tanzania that we know today.
Yeah.
So so he still is part of that history, but how do you reckon with that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think all you can do is like tell things factually as they were.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what I love about this episode is that that's what you've done.
Yeah.
Right.
These are the facts.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're going to leave it there.
Yeah.
We will be back with you with a new episode next week. So stay tuned.
And thank you for listening and being with us.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.